众朋友们，晚上好，欢迎收听西雅图中文电台2020年美国大选的特别节目。今天我们非常有幸的请到华盛顿州第42选区的众议员的候选人 Jennifer Sefzik。Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Chinese Radio Seattle 2020 election special program. Tonight we are very honored to have Washington State House Representative candidate Jennifer Sefzik. She is the candidate of the Legislative District 42nd. So thank you, Jennifer, to join our program.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me.
So I have a brief introduction for Jennifer. Jennifer Sefzik spent the last 25 years with her family, lawyer, her husband, lawyer, raising their three children, and now all three children are in college. And Jennifer spent 20 years in sales and 10 years coaching speech and debate, and now she's running for the state House representative in the 42nd legislative district. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, my first question is, why do you plan to run for the state House representative?
Well, that is a wonderful question to start with, because it is a very challenging thing to run for office, but our family has always been very politically involved. And in the 2018 elections up in the 42nd district, we were very disappointed when we lost our representative, Vincent Bies, who had been in this seat for 8 years. The reason it was very disappointing to lose him is because he was replaced with my opponent, who is a very far left-leaning Democrat, whose views really don't line up with the 42nd district, and particularly with our industries. We have a very large industrial zone in the 42nd district, which is called Cherry Point Industries, which has 2 refineries. And those refineries are villainized by the left when they're very major industries and major employers. So I found that to be very disappointing and decided to step up instead of just criticizing, step up and do something about it. So I'm running.
Wonderful. So what can you bring to the State House if you are elected as the representative of the Legislative District 42nd?
Well, I think what I bring to the House is probably 3 things, which I'll explain briefly: balance, communication skills, and common sense. I think the balance that I will bring will be evident because currently the majority party has such a large influence that we need more balance with the conservatives and the Republicans in the House right now to reduce their appetite for growing government and to bring back more conservative principles to governing. Communication skills, I have coached debate and speech for the last 12 years, actually. And so communication is not just about speaking. That tends to be what we think of when we think of communicating, but really it's more about listening and listening well to policies and being able to think about those critically to make good decisions. And then the other thing I bring is common sense. My opponent is an academic, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I have been in the real world for my lifetime of many years in business, in industry, sales and marketing, raising my family. So I have a wide variety of experience that I think will be helpful in bringing to the legislature.
Great. So what will be your highest priority as a state representative?
Well, I think our highest priority as a legislature going back to Olympia will have to be our budget, to be financially responsible. The budget under Jay Inslee has grown by 70%, which certainly far outpaces inflation or population growth. And so I think government has grown exponentially under his administration over the years. And so we should be able to balance our budget, have targeted reductions, and still keep our essential services to our citizens who are the most vulnerable. But we certainly do not need to be talking about new taxes at this time. Families and businesses, especially, of course, the private industry, has suffered greatly during this period of the pandemic. And so we need to keep taxes off of the table. Certainly don't need a head tax, income tax, more, property taxes and so forth. We need to try to tighten our belts. You know how families do when you have a budget problem, you just trim, and government certainly has places that we can trim bureaucracy and become more efficient. And I think that's what we're going to have to do, is just prioritize that.
What will you do as a state representative for to contain COVID-19 pandemic?
Oh, in response to COVID? Wow. Well, we've certainly all experienced a lot these last few months, and it has been very difficult for all of us. Unless you were alive in 1918, you haven't experienced a pandemic before. And so with all of that, it's new territory for us. And so obviously we've learned a lot, and we've witnessed unprecedented loss of our liberty. We also have had to prioritize our safety. How do we manage this? But in the beginning, if you think about it, we were all willing to flatten the curve for a few weeks, for our health and safety. But then we learned that the virus was not as deadly as we had originally thought for the majority of the population. And so at that point, I think what we could have done is quarantine the vulnerable, and instituted some extra levels of precautions as a whole, which I hope is what we would do next time, going forward, if we continue in this type of a trend, that we all know more how to wash our hands, how to wear masks when necessary. But the population that's at risk should be the ones that are quarantined, and then let the healthy people continue to work, to run their businesses, because those businesses are our revenue source for our state. And that is essential, that we keep our economy going, so that we do not create more poverty and more problems going forward. But I think we've all learned a lot, and certainly want to protect those who need protecting, and protect our businesses as well as their health concerns.
Do you advocate mask mandate if necessary?
Well, I think we'd have to look and see if it was, warranted, if necessary. I know that safety is very important, and for those who feel like they are at risk, I think they could, but I'm not necessarily sure about mandated for everyone, all the people. But I think we'll have to look at the data as we continue on, and certainly look at what makes sense, for our communities.
That's great. What will you do to prevent wildfire?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Wildfire.
Oh, wildfires.
Yeah.
Oh, that has been terrible, hasn't it? Very sad. I promise I won't start any bonfires. I promise I won't break the fire ban. One of our best friends is actually a firefighter. So I am aware of things through his eyes. But our commissioner for public lands that's running, Sue Peterson, I think is her name, has talked extensively about forest management, and that we need better policies for managing our forests, so that we can get rid of the tinder that has created the difficult situation with the forest fires.
And what's your biggest advantage over your opponent in this election for 42nd legislative district?
Well, I think my greatest advantage is that I'm not radical as far as my beliefs, and the Democrat Party has moved so far left. They've been hijacked by the radical element of their party, which is not good for their brand right now. It is really not playing well with most people. The concept of defunding police that they don't seem to distance themselves from doesn't make people feel safe, doesn't give people confidence. So I think we have to just go back to those common sense concepts, which have always worked for us as far as the things that keep our communities safe. And so the other great advantage that I have is I'm very fortunate. I've worked very hard this election to get my name out and my signs all over the county. And I have tremendous grassroots support throughout our community. And so I'm very excited to just continue working very hard. I don't take anything for granted, but I'm very grateful for the support that I have. And we won the primary, so that gave people a lot of hope that we can win the general election as well.
You have a wonderful family. You raised 3 children, and all of them are in the college now. That's a good job. And can you share your family value to our audience?
Oh, yes, I would love to. Yes, I've raised my family. I was working when I was, I was very busy. I had a career. I was working a lot, volunteering a lot in our church. And then one point I realized it was just too much. I was just way too busy. I needed to focus on my family. And so I resigned from my career and my other opportunities so that I could be home with my children and raise them. And I directed their education. But we are a faith-based family. So our family values are based on Judeo-Christian values, where family is important. We are accountable to God for our actions. It requires me to also informs my decisions about treating people with respect and dignity, because I believe that they are made in the image of God. So that, again, informs me to love and care for others in my community as well. But I do value education very much. My children in college, I have one that is a pre-med student. I have one that is a pre-law student, and then one who is studying business. So we're covering various things, but family is very important to me.
Nice. So finally, can you say something to the voters in the Chinese community?
I would love to. The friends that I have in the Chinese community, I respect them greatly for many reasons. First of all, I see them as a very kind and gracious people who are very caring of one another. I also see them as a people who do a very good job with their family, taking care of the elderly and respecting all generations. And I think that's something that we can emulate, and certainly I admire in how they respect their elders and their families. And the other thing that I know that the Chinese population understands what a socialist government looks like and how it can be oppressive, and the direction that our Democrat Party could be headed towards, or is headed towards. So if we look at these things, if we start with the family values, one of the things I hope that the Chinese population will be informed about the comprehensive sex ed bill that was passed by the legislature in the spring. And this was very controversial, and parents were very upset about it because it mandated a comprehensive sex ed program starting in kindergarten for all of the school districts across the state. And as parents looked at this, they realized that this was not family friendly because it sexualizes the children starting in kindergarten. Normally, a comprehensive sex ed program will start in 5th or 6th grade because it's on human development. It's on, things that are appropriate. But this one is completely inappropriate and, again, a heavy-handed mandate. So I hope that people will take a look at that. You can go to Informed Parents of Washington, and we would want to reject the referendum, R90, for this, because again, it would give parents back the choice of wanting to teach this information and remove it being mandated on the schools. Again, back to the issue of a socialist country, your people know what it looks like to have a government that's growing and growing, and you're here for our country to appreciate the freedoms that we have to have a business, to grow that business, and to be able to flourish and prosper in a country where we can do that. And so your people have a unique perspective, and we need to hear your voices on that. And we appreciate what you have to say about that and valuing our freedoms.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And I hope you will win, and good luck for your campaign.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
That's it. And we will send you the links, and perhaps after tomorrow.
Okay.
Good luck.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I appreciate your time and the opportunity to connect with your people and your voters.
Sure. Yeah. Keep in touch. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bless you. Bye-bye.